we all know that startup life is tough. Venture capital is tough also. Um, what I like the most about investing is that once we are on your cap table, we are on your side because what is good for you is good for us.
Welcome to Hustle Share, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Beit-Yong.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Hustle Share podcast. My name is Ronster, and I'm your host. And this episode is brought to you by Payroll Hero, a time, attendance, scheduling, HR, and payroll solution for Philippine companies. If you are new to the show, we're glad to have you here because Hustle Share is a podcast that lets you improve your hustle by listening to other hustlers. But we'd like to give you a heads up because we use a lot of adult language that is not safe for work. So if there are kids around, please make sure that they are not going to hear the adult language that we are going to say in this episode. So let's begin. This episode is quite special because it's homecoming for me. And it's our Mother's Day edition because for today, we will be having the president of Kickstart Ventures, Miss Minette Navarette, to talk about the hustle behind Kickstart Ventures. And it's going to be a jam-packed episode because she's going to share how she started out her career as a turnaround expert for big corporations and how all of that changed when she focused her career on innovation while she was working with Level Up Games and Globe Telecom. And this is where it gets interesting because she's going to share how Kickstart was born within Globe and the struggles they had to go through just to get it out. And it's not just her who's going to be sharing a lot of thoughts because I will also come clean because Minette was also my investor in my first startup and I will share a lot of personal stories of how it's like being invested on by Kickstart. And we will also do a deep dive of the things that I've learned while working with them. And lastly, Minette is going to talk about the $150 million fund that Ayala just announced and how they will invest that in startups across the globe, revolving around themes that they envision the world will have in the very near future. And as a bonus, Minette is also going to share the philosophy of how Kickstart invests, their values, and what it's like working with Ernest Koo and the leadership tips she has for startup founders across the Startup PH ecosystem, and what it's like when they do due diligence while they invest. So if you're ready to listen to the hustle behind Kickstart Ventures, let's begin this Mother's Day episode right now. Welcome to the latest episode of the Hustle Share podcast. It's our Mother's Day edition, and I'm so excited because I've been wanting to have her on the show, and finally she says yes because she's very busy and respect her time, and more than anyone, she's taught me so many things that I've never learned from anyone. So welcome to the show, the president of Kickstart Ventures, Minette Navarette. Minette, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Kickstart in Area 55. How have you been?
I'm good. This is like homecoming. It feels surreal to be here again and be in the very room that this wasn't a room before. There was a classroom, but this is like school. Going back and meeting the principal or the
okay, I'm not sure that.
Okay, the teacher, my favorite teacher and whatnot. So Minette, real quick, what's your hustle?
So, your hustle changes over the course of your life,
Okay.
right? And when I started out, I thought that what I wanted to do was be a turnaround expert, turn around companies that were maybe in decline, maybe losing money, etc., etc. And that's how I started out. So, like everyone else, I started out in employment. I was working for Unilever and L'Oreal, small brands, big brands, etc. But when it came time to run companies, I had started out working with companies like Shangri-La and Levi Strauss.
Right.
And the big challenge for me then was, how do you take every single department, every single initiative of the company and help make for better operations, better balance sheet, better engagement across the company. That was something I thought I wanted to do. Over time, I decided what I really wanted to do was what I'm doing now, innovation. And that comes in different forms. So today's hustle is innovation.
There you go. So in terms of innovation, Minette, now you've been through it all, right? Has that been the common denominator ever since? You said, all right, you wanted to be the turnaround guy all the time. When did that spark for you out of your stints, like you did Unilever, you had L'Oreal, Shang, Levi's? When did that change? Like, all right, I want to do innovation. When did that spark within you? And it's like, all right, this is my game now.
Truthfully, it wasn't quite as simple as that. I had all my background had been working in traditional companies, large global corporations, and at some point I thought I wanted to test whether I could work in an industry that I knew nothing about, that I had no background in. I wanted to try digital, and I figured if I tried it and I failed spectacularly,
Right.
I could pick myself up and recover. And that's what got me from big company names into Level Up.
Level Up Games, Ragnarok, the pourings and whatnot. How again? I asked you about that, but how did you get that opportunity when that didn't even exist? What was that? 2004, 2005, and what? I was in high school. I remember because all my classmates were all
Way
playing.
to go, Ron. Make me feel old.
No, but it was such a big thing. People were bringing pourings in the classroom. Like, what the hell is this?
I still have a pouring at home.
Oh wow!
How did that come about? Well, I guess at that point I had done pretty well in
Okay.
the other companies I'd run, and we had some investors
Okay.
who were on my board in one of the large companies and who coincidentally were investors in Level Up. And there was a joke, I have no idea if it's true, but one of them, who's a mentor I respect greatly, had said, I think as a challenge to the lead investor, that if they could get me on board, that the investor would put more money in the company. And it was a good coincidence because I wanted to test something I'd never done before
Yep.
and knew nothing about.
Wow.
So there I went.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, in Level Up, what was that is your first taste of startup life. What was your role there? Was it were you CEO right away from day one?
Yes, I ran the Philippine operation.
That is
So
crazy.
Level Up, we probably all know it from Ragnarok and RF Online and all the other titles that it ran in the Philippines. It also had an India and a Brazil operation.
Got it.
I ran the Philippine operation, and I had colleagues running the other countries.
Now, there's something that it struck a chord with what you in your LinkedIn. I was talking to you the whole day, right? You like building teams, right? You said you build. Wait, let me just check that. You said you develop teams and whatnot. How did you build the team in Level Up to be the big? You got acquired right away, and then how did you build that when that talent wasn't even in broad daylight?
To be fair, I did not build the Level
Okay.
Up team from scratch. There was a team in place. The founders, Ben Kolaiko, Phil
Okay.
Kahiwat, Sam Devanani, had done a
Wow.
great job bringing talent from across. And there was talent from developer groups. There was talent from tech companies, talent from ad agencies. So there was a very diverse set of people in there. And my role was to come in and bring disciplined strategic thinking and operational rigor,
Yeah.
which was necessary for the company to be acquired.
Wow. But there's this one thing that I just remember now. So rest in peace, Lance Garcia. I mean, he was my investor in Partyfile after you guys invested in the following rounds. But he worked with you before. And he told me like, oh my God, it's Minette. You know how he ran Level Up before, but there was this something. What was your style of leadership in Level Up? Because that's very important in culture, and I understood this with you guys. You didn't have to tell us like culture, how you build it and whatnot, but culture is something that you build from day one. What was level up culture, especially in a gaming environment where right now it's big, there's esports and whatnot. This did not exist before. There were prepaid cards and whatnot. How did you build that from the engine up, from the engine back in the back?
I think, and let's be honest, there was a very strong culture that was already in place when I joined.
Okay.
Ben Colaiko, Phil, Sam, they were strong, inspirational leaders.
Okay.
I think what I brought and added to it
Okay.
was a similar point of view around sharing a strong sense of purpose.
Purpose.
And all of us felt this quest we were on. We were all together in
like
this.
a game.
It was, yeah, you've got to have good game, not
Right.
just as the company, but
Okay.
as an individual bringing skills and talents. So the sense of purpose, the sense of being on a mission was something very,
Right.
very strong.
Absolutely. Now, after Level Up, Minette, you went to Globe now, right? So after you got acquired, correct? And then
We
you
got
went.
acquired by a company not Globe.
Oh, yeah, correct, right. But when your next stint was with Globe, how was that? When in 2008, I think that was like the financial crisis and whatnot, and you came in and coming from the gaming industry, what was your role now in Globe?
I actually joined in '06
Ah,
after
okay.
the acquisition of Level Up. And in '06, you have to remember this was a boom period.
Boom. Yes.
And everything was in growth mode.
Yes.
But we were just then beginning to see the beginnings of digital. At the time, all the telcos in the Philippines derived their revenues from
Text.
SMS.
Yes.
From
Texting capital of the Philippines. That's what we were called. I mean, of the world.
Absolutely,
Right,
that was
yeah.
it, right? And voice calls and etc. So I was an opportunistic hire, and
Okay.
the whole idea of bringing me in with my diverse background was to bring somebody who thought different from everyone else, so that Globe could get a blueprint, if you like,
Okay.
for innovation. So I remember my first day at
Okay.
Globe. I'd been hired by Jerry Ablaza, then
Right.
CEO. Lift door opens. I step out. I'm thinking, we're gonna sit down. I'm gonna get a good briefing. I'm gonna understand.
Nice onboarding.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatnot.
This industry that I had never been a part of.
Right.
I had never really thought of it previously. And Jerry's walking briskly down the hallway, and he's saying, "Hi, Minette. Good morning. There's a cable cut. Go find your desk, and we will talk when this crisis is being handled."
Wow.
And
What a way to start your career in there.
but it's a great way of framing
Right.
the role of innovation. Innovation doesn't count if your customers are unhappy. So you've got to have good customer focus. That is job one.
Okay. And then from that point, now you're in Globe. You're doing marketing, is it, or what were you doing at first?
New business.
New business. What is new business? Like, I mean, without delving too much information, because somebody might be pushing stuff in here. No, I'm just kidding. But
New
no,
business was anything that was not access. So if it wasn't
Ah.
voice, it wasn't SMS, it wasn't international calls,
Wow.
and it wasn't internet connectivity.
Got it.
So when it was content, that
Okay.
was us.
Wow.
It was online, that was us. It was games,
Mm-hmm.
music, youth, that was us.
That is awesome. So these are the new things, basically at the forefront of R&D still, basically, with something that can make the telco become better down the road. All right, now Minette, how did the Kickstart idea come? I mean, I met you Startup Weekend 2012 in Mint College. How did that? How was it born?
Not long before that, actually. The story is Ernest and I were having a breakfast meeting at the Ayala Museum in
Okay.
April 2011. I had been in Globe for 5 years at that
Wow.
point, and I kind of think in 5-year horizons for innovation. So in the first 5 years, we produced the blueprint for Globe's digital businesses. The whole idea of we must be in games, we must be in music, we must be in content, we must be in this. We've got to be online. We've got to imagine we have to imagine a time when we run an ad campaign that has no TV, no radio, no print. We have to imagine a time when everything
Wow.
is online. And I remember, being told, Minette, that's so niche in '06, and me retorting, that's not niche, that's mainstream, just the early bit of the mainstream.
Timing.
It's all
Right.
gonna happen later on because in '06, all of us were texting happy
Correct.
birthday
How
to
do you
our
have that
friends.
foresight though? Because this is all NASA stuff. Like this is I mean like I'm talking about like this is something that before internet wasn't even ready for this type of information. Now it's easier because there's so much content out there. But how do you prepare for this type of stuff that you're now gonna you now foresaw that the game is not gonna be SMS. The game's not gonna be calls and whatnot. 5 years ahead. That's like writing the Ant-Man quantum realm thing and then seeing yourself in the future.
You've got to know that some of that was a healthy dose of ignorance about tech and how the networks could or could not support things.
Okay.
And a lot of understanding of human nature and what we would be curious about. So it all boils down to people and what
Okay.
we believe people are going to want or be interested in or be curious about.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we were. But at that time, it wasn't so obvious. We had laid down a few kind of stepping stones,
Okay.
building blocks for the digital businesses.
Okay.
And by 2011, the first 5 years had run their course. Ernest and I are talking about what's up next, and I say open innovation. So
Open innovation.
before all the pitches that you guys did, I
Yep.
pitched.
Ah.
I had a pitch all for Ernest to say, we want to do open innovation.
Okay.
We want to look outside. Globe is not going to build every single thing that runs on
Okay.
its network. And we would like to be open to investing in startups.
And the startup ecosystem did not even exist. When you brought this up with Ernest, was he all game for it right away? What was the main catalyst for this to now become Kickstart as it is?
So 2011, there was no Kickstart. There wasn't the great startup scene, but we had a lot of curiosity.
Okay.
And Ernest is entrepreneurial by nature. So
Okay.
we were curious. There was a good fortune of Singtel working up a partnership with Startup Weekend, the Kaufman Foundation in the US, and saying we could run Startup Weekend across different cities with our affiliates in Southeast Asia. Who wants to run Startup Weekend? So we
Right.
raised our hands. Dan, Christian Bessler, so Dan Siaz
Right.
and Christian Bessler and I, and said,
Forefathers and founding members.
we're interested. We'll
Right,
run
right.
it in Manila. Our colleagues in Australia and Optus ran Startup Weekend Sydney. Colleagues in Telecom ran Startup Weekend
Indonesia.
Jakarta.
Right.
The colleagues in AIS ran Startup Weekend Bangkok. And
Wow.
of course, Singtel Startup Weekend in Singapore. So, and it was phenomenal. At the end of that session, we were told by the guys in the US to expect 50 signups,
Right.
and we got 300.
300! Holy shit. Oh,
So-
sorry. I'm not supposed to cast in front of Minette. Okay, there you go. She's talking a lot. Right, watch
So-
now. Run.
So we
Okay.
thought two things obvious. One was there was quite a lot of demand,
Okay.
but also the second thing was there was going to be quite a lot of work.
Okay.
There were not enough mentors, not enough experience.
Okay.
We would need to make a serious investment of time and energy. Dan, Christian, and I could not do this
Right.
on the side. This wasn't going to be a side hustle. This needed to be a full-time commitment. So at some point, Ato Yao, head
Wow.
of HR, walks into my room and says, "Would you spin yourselves out?"
Oh, wow.
And I said yes, because it was obvious.
In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
Wow.
Because it was obvious that to have any shot at success, we needed to be outside of the mothership,
Got it.
outside of our comfort zones. All of us had corporate backgrounds.
Yeah.
And that's That's what led us to pitch to the Globe Board in January 2012.
Got it.
And by March, we had incorporated, and we were running Kickstart out of my office
Yep.
until we could find a place here.
I remember again, like what I said, this is something that is core because, full disclosure, Minette is actually my investor. In my first startup, it was called guestlist.ph. It also became rebranded as Partyfile. And I met her. I pitched her, Christian, and Dan 3 times before they said yes. And every single time they said no, I never just left the door sulking. I mean, yeah, I was hurt. I cried a little. But but I asked, what's missing? What did you like to see? And then in the 4th try, I asked for help from Jojo Flores, which introduced me to Jay Fajardo. So thank you, Jay, for letting that happen. And then eventually in the 4th try, I got the final recipe. Ant-Man didn't have do-overs. I had do-overs. And in the 4th try, they finally said yes.
But do-overs are classic in our world, right?
Correct.
The thing that impresses is the grit. Hustle isn't about delivering bullshit and hoping that people believe it. Hustle is about part grind, part inspiration, a good dose of honesty, and a lot of working with other people. And you had figured out a fair bit. You were very honest about the risks still,
Yep.
but it was a good pitch.
And who would have thought, like, Ayala on Kickstart would invest in a nightlife app? Basically, that was my thesis back then. I was so raw, and I was an idiot. I still am, but I'm a better idiot now, right? Because you taught me so much. But before that, let's take a break now, Minette, and then when we come back, let's talk about the grind now. Let's take a deep dive of what you guys do in Kickstart and what you guys look for, and more of that after the break. Hey hustlers, let's talk about something really important real quick. Something that a lot of you I know can relate to, especially if you're running a business. And I'm talking about payroll. You know how hard it is and time consuming this is, especially that you have to do it twice a month. And as a guy who's been running tech startups for over 10 years now, this is something that I did not enjoy doing at all. It's not like it's because I don't like paying my employees. No, but it's already hard looking for funding to fund for your payroll, and then it's so much more harder if you're doing this manually. Luckily, I've found something that I highly recommend that you try, and it's from our friends from Payroll Hero. And here's how Payroll Hero works. They use your employee's face as your primary biometric to avoid buddy punching and ghost employees. So unless your team can figure out a way to swap each other's faces, tracking time and performance will never be your problem again. Payroll Hero is also very consumer friendly because it's also based on web and mobile, and it's also cloud-based, so you never have to worry about your clunky old biometric machines. So now you can automate time, attendance, scheduling, HRIS, and a payroll platform wrapped all in one. We have a very special bonus for you hustlers listening on the Hustle Share podcast. All you need to do is go to www.payrollhero.ph and use the promo code HustleShare to get a 60-day free trial. That's technically 4 payrolls that you can do all for free, so you can see how it works for you. And the beauty about it is there's no upfront payment needed to do this. So never worry about payroll again. With Payroll Hero, optimizing work productivity with happiness. And we're back from the break. We're still with Minette Navarette of Kickstart on our Mother's Day edition, which will also happen to be a happy election day. So please don't make the same mistakes I did. I'm going to go a little bit political on this one because our country needs help. So please vote wisely. All right, that's it. Now, Minette, real quick. So now we're here and you're with Kickstart. What were the early grinds? Because what was your strategy in investing in the startups in the first batch? Because it was, you had the Launch Garage, the first version. By the way, the Launch Garage now that you guys see is just an offshoot or a different version of the OG Launch Garage. Because Launch Garage was a project between Kickstart and Proud Cloud before.
So you tell me, what was most memorable for you coming from the
Oh,
first,
man.
the early batches of
Right. I was
investments?
batch two, right? First one, I remember batch one being so jealous because I didn't get to submit. Like, why did I not miss out? And I saw the Norrises of the world, the Zaps of the world. Like, man, I've been paying my dues. All right, I'll try again next time. And I try again. And now the most memorable ones is really the checkpoints. So for those people who don't know what checkpoints are, back then when you're in accelerator, you're obliged or you're required to meet with your investors every week. So I saw them every week, and now when it was gone, it was so weird because now I don't get to see Minette, and you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And I true that because the type of stuff I didn't go to an MBA, but this was better than an MBA. The type of stuff you taught us was great, and like little things like Minette taught me how to sit on a chair. That's it. Like how to set up because I used to slouch a lot, and now I have to like run. You do this and whatnot. It's like
So were we tough?
yes and no. Yes, because you treated it like an adults, like an adult, but you also made us feel like family. So it's a good mix. Like it felt like you were with us.
Was it hard for you?
Yes and no because the stuff before this was harder. I was battling for survival. You enabled me to now have this. And full disclosure as well, after Kickstart, I ran out of money. And then there was a 6-month period where I had to scratch and claw before the next round came in, where the 500 startups of the world came in. It was hard because there was higher stakes, but I signed up for it. So I knew, and I was been through worse shit. So it was great.
Did you ever
your
regret?
Huh?
Did you ever regret?
No. Hindsight's 2020. If I did not go through, I'm just very grateful and thankful.
You're
because
very welcome.
it's, dude, like I swear, a lot of people. There's only I don't know how many of us did you invest? 8, 10 at the first batch, which most of us are dead.
For the first batch, 5 the next. For the Launch Garage projects.
And then the bigger ones, of course, the Calibers and
And
whatnot
then
were still around. We were like the
Zaps
baby sharks. But most of us are dead, right? There's some that's still cockroach startup mode, but most of us, and those people who are dead like me, are now, I don't want to say it like this, but because of you guys, you helped us set up on our next try. We did better. Norris of Activate, now CTO of Ventini, is doing quite well. Val, head of Peekaboo, now head of JG Summit. Mark Medina, doing so well in whatever he's doing, and I think they're still alive and whatnot. But Vin, you taught us so much that it's an indelible mark. It's like the mark of the Night King on Brand Start. It's always going to be there.
I'm not sure that's what we were going for, but okay.
Just kidding. No, but it's an indelible mark that forever we're going to be super thankful. And for me, I wouldn't have been acquired if you didn't teach me the little things. So there's one thing that I remember. I'm sorry for those listeners who are listening. I'm talking too much now, but I need you guys to hear this. My biggest fuck up in Party File is that I went Donald Trump and Vince McMahon on an employee one time, and I fired someone. I shouldn't have done that.
And not in that way.
And not in that way. I didn't want to tell you that, but you found out. I don't know how. It's quite creepy, actually. But I guess that's what investors do. They have a lot of eyes and ears like berries. But
I sat down with the lawyer.
yes, with a lawyer, and then
Their
you
lawyer.
knew. Oh wow! I did not know this. So the lawyer of the person went to you,
Well,
more or less.
not really a common friend.
Wow, that's scary. And then you
No, that's lucky.
Yeah, and luck. So again, thank you for that because you helped me with that. You went to the meeting with me and walked me through the proper way to settle this, and that's one more than anything. You taught me poise and grace, which I did not have. Now let's go back to those things. So after all these dead startups, what was it like on your end? Because a lot of us, you invest a lot of time and effort, probably more than what you're investing in now with the bigger startups and whatnot. What was that like when we started dying like flies,
Well,
left and
first of
right?
all, you weren't dying like flies.
Okay, all right.
But secondly, I think the more important thing, right? When you're an investor, you've got to have the optimism and the belief somewhere in there that every single one of these investments must have the potential to do 5x, 10x.
Got it.
And so our thesis was always we invest cash, sure,
Okay.
but more importantly, we invest time and energy. Cash is a commodity.
Yes.
There's always going to be somebody with a bigger checkbook, with more funds, with an easier process.
Right.
I think one of the things people always say is we ask so many questions,
Right.
we run so many
Due
simulations.
diligence. Right.
Why would you do that? And the reason is cash is finite,
Correct.
and so is talent. And so we've got to have enough skin in the game, not just in terms of putting cash in your company, but we've got to have a firm belief that you could make it. We all know what the odds are, right? 9 out of 10 will not be
Yep.
that big success story, but we have to have a fundamental belief that you could be that
Yeah.
big success story. So for us, we saw it as these are the breaks of the game.
Okay.
And as long as people learned something, we were prepared to make the investment of both the cash and the time and the effort. We were prepared to make the introductions, which is a use of our social capital and our relationships. And if we knew that everybody worked
Right.
hard, honestly, and it didn't pan out, it doesn't pan out.
What is their difficult decision? Because at the end of the day, we all know that Globe is the LP. How? Because I remember also one thing. When Party File was dying, there were two things that really stuck with me. Number one, the last meeting we've ever had, where you told me more than anyone, you fought for me the most. And that really broke my heart. It did. Because I was such an idiot as a founder because I had shiny object syndrome. Every little thing that's cool, I wanted to do it and whatnot. I had a shiny whatever syndrome. I feel like Minette was always telling me like that's bad for you. I was like, no, I'll do that. I was so stubborn in a bad way that eventually now, in hindsight, when all that's gone, he said, but you told me that you fought the hardest from you. What does that mean? Because what fighting with the LPs and whatnot, do they know every details? But
No, it isn't that. It's when you're a startup founder, you've got this one startup, and you focus entirely on that. All your time, all your energies directed towards that. When you're an investor, you have to make a range of investments, a portfolio.
Right.
But your cash is finite, and your time is finite, and your attention is finite.
Right.
And more valuable than the cash is the time, because
Super.
time is zero sum.
Super.
And here you were. Don't take money without terms.
Oh my
Somebody writes you a check. Do not take it unless the terms of that check are clear.
Yep.
You took it. When somebody
Yep.
is an advisor, you do not give 10%.
Wow. I feel it's like a flashback of your equity for nothing, for a promise.
For a promise,
Oh my
for no
gosh.
deliverables.
Correct.
When you give stocks, they vest over time.
Yeah, it's not upfront. And
So
now I'm
there's-
teaching all these people now what to do. I put it on Startup PH because
Oh,
like,
cool,
yo, yeah,
very
I've been
cool.
there.
But
Yeah.
this is good, right? That's what
Right.
we're after. So you and I went through these days
Right.
where you were so full of passion.
Right.
And I loved it. I loved the intensity. I loved the energy. But oh my gosh, you were not listening. And at some
Yeah.
point, I have to think, am I going to invest
More time.
more time in somebody who, frankly, isn't really listening? It doesn't
Yeah.
really value the time and the
Correct.
advice. So I fought myself because I could see such a lot of grit
Thank you.
in you. I knew you were going to make something special of yourself. I wanted it to be with us,
I wanted it too. Oh my God. Right.
but it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let it I wasn't going to let it fail without trying my best.
Right.
Um,
But I was just too over myself. And unfortunately, the way it ended, Party Foul, through a series of things, not all me. So some of it timing, some of it a really bad luck and whatnot. I'm not going to
some of it you.
Yeah, but most of it actually me. I'll come clear with that. So my bad. And there's two things that happened. I just wanted to share this with you guys because I haven't shared this with a lot of people, and this is probably me in my most vulnerable. In the last days of Party Foul, when I knew those writings on the wall, there's nowhere to go. I'm checkmated. I have no money, whatnot. Alex Alaviso told me, "Hey, Alex, I don't know what to do now. Nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to help me out and whatnot. It's my fault." Alex told me to write a letter to myself. I did. I wrote that blog. It's the 13 lessons I learned from a failed startup. I wasn't trying to be famous and whatnot. I wrote that for myself. Put it on Medium. Someone picked it up, became viral. We became part of that list of 16 whatever startups that died in that year. Like, so that's something you don't ever want to be in and whatnot. That's like the postmortem. But you sent me an email that struck me to the core. And again, I'll read this verbatim. And somewhere in that email, you told me that you said self-mastery is an important contributor to achieving success and helpful for surviving the bad times and enjoying the good times. I told myself when I read this, if I'm ever going to try again and putting another startup, I'll be the best version of me. And 12 months later, we got acquired with Chatbot PH. And the first thing I did, guys, after that acquisition, when I announced it, I went back here to my home and cried in front of Minette, in front of the whole raid the fridge, just to thank her. Because without that help and everything that she taught me, I wouldn't have made it.
But that was pretty special.
It was.
I
I'm
was
still
very
getting goosebumps
honest.
right now. I'm just trying to hold my tears out. Because I always cry in front of you. Why does it always happen? But no, thank you. Thank you for that.
But thanks for sharing. I think we all know that startup life is tough.
Super.
Venture capital is tough also. What I like the most about investing is that once we are on your cap table, we are on your side because what is good for
Yes.
you is good for us.
Yes.
It is very, very different from a commercial engagement or a grant or a gift. And our belief is that we are in the trenches with you. We fight alongside. So one of the many dragons that we all have to slay
Okay.
is our own demons. Everybody is battling something of their own background. Everyone comes
Correct.
with chips on their shoulder.
Right.
And if we're to have any shot at success, you have to master your own demons.
Yes.
You've got to get over yourself, get over your own ego,
Yeah.
and learn to be the best version of yourself. And it's amazing how much the least sexy bit
Yep.
of venture capital, number crunching, due diligence, interviews without end, the least sexy bit of startup life, crunching the numbers, pitching for the 27th time to the 33rd
Right.
investor,
Correct.
all the unsexy stuff. That's what makes you.
Super.
That's what builds you.
And
It's
how
the
you do it
grind.
also matters. That's what I learned from you. It's not just okay, I got it over with. But if you were destructive in the way you did it and everybody hated you, the optics matter. It's not just if you got the job done. It's how you got the job done. Because if not, then that's when I realized really I was a man when I got over that hump. And whenever I was down in the dumps, I'll remember that line verbatim. Self-mastery, bro. Self-mastery, self-mastery. this is what Minette told you. She's Yoda. You shouldn't let her down. But she's Padme, really. Padme 001. That's her Twitter handle.
No, but you're so right. The optics matter, and the optics matter to the public and the critical publics for you. But more than anything, the optics matter for yourself.
Super.
And when you've done the best job that you can. When you have tried hard enough. And whether you tried hard enough and you're successful, or you tried hard enough and it's time to say it is pivot or perish time.
Correct.
You know it. So the optics matter to you as well.
Sure. Super. Now, I'm just curious. You said due diligence. Just put it lightly. I know this is number crunching. I remember so many times like, hey, can I talk to Minette? But she's like, no, she's the number crunching. I know that's due diligence time. Walk us through when someone pitches, right? Okay, 15 minutes, you're impressed and whatnot. What happens for you guys to now? It takes time. I remember this. Ours was easier because of a small check. Now, what do you guys do in a broad sense to get to the decision that, yes, we are really investing? Term sheet, check. Now let's write the check. Because that's where I remember you telling me that the term sheet ain't worth shit. Right? Okay.
Non-binding.
That's right. Non-binding. You need that check. You really close it when the check is in. What happens in between that period?
So it's very easy to impress in one sitting, one pitch, right? No, okay, maybe it's not that easy.
Right.
But it's easy to hold somebody's attention for 15, 30 minutes.
Sure.
And get them impressed. To get them to write a check, and a big check at that, it takes a while. Different investors have different processes.
Okay.
We care about the vision, obviously, and the pitch is about that, and the questions you're asked. We care about the tech.
Okay.
So we look at code. We care about the business model. How realistic is it?
Okay.
How good are your assumptions? How crazy are your assumptions?
Yes.
So somebody once came and said to us he would be delivering 10 billion pesos in the
If it was Ron Host, I would believe it, because congratulations, by the way, to Ron Host and to you guys for now finally we have an exit, right?
But right in how credible is that?
Right.
How wild are the assumptions and where are the risks? But we also test for character, because I think one of the things we know is that everything will change. The product will change. The technology will change. The business model will change, and the financial projections always change.
Wow.
Always.
Yes.
So we will run financial projections on a base case, a best case, a worst case.
Right.
But more than anything, we will run interviews about you.
Got
So
it.
we do character and values interviews.
Wow.
We talk to customers. We talk to partners. All of this transparent,
Wow.
but all of it important. At the end of the day, it is the people who matter the most.
Okay.
So one of the values in Kickstart is that we believe people make the difference.
Yes.
And we live that.
Oh my God.
We have passed on investments in startups that we believe will make somebody a fortune if we don't think the values are aligned.
Yes, it's like going into this family that now you have to have the same DNA. If not, then I'm sorry, we're walking away.
You know, I wouldn't say that. We love how different everyone is.
Got it.
If you look at the portfolio today, the guys from Israel are so different from the Singapore guys, and the two companies we have in Singapore are so different from each other anyway.
Right.
Everyone is different, and the diversities is awesome and is valuable.
Right.
So it isn't the DNA, it's the values.
Got it.
The values have to be consistent. The way we express those values are very, very different. Some of us much more serious,
Okay.
some of us much more casual, jokey, some of us very proper, and some of us very snarky. But the values
It's the common denominator.
are the common denominator.
Got it. Now, I'm curious. So again, a lot of the early investments failed. I'm pretty sure you guys did a pivot right now, and you're now writing bigger checks. You're now going after the bigger, because before we were all seeds, some of them even idea phase. What changed in Kickstart when you made that pivot? Because a lot of us, again, out of the first 8, I don't know how many is still left or still has a pulse, but a lot of them, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to echo this in behalf of all those founders that you invested on. Thank you. But what changed in the direction?
There was no change in direction. There's a
Okay.
change in scale. When you think about how you are as a startup, the first checks are maybe 100,000,
Yep.
500,000, and then as you scale up, you get into a 7-digit check, hopefully a million, 2 million, 3 million. The bigger you are, and the bigger the scope and scale of ambition and operations, the bigger the checks.
Right.
So for Kickstart, it was a similar thing. Remember, there was no startup scene. There was no corporate doing investing. When we came out in 2012, we were the smallest fund. We announced 100 million pesos.
Pesos. Wow.
And that was because we were going to prove a thesis that we could make we could find the startups first of all,
Got it.
make the investments, make some progress, and if that panned out, we knew we could ask for more money.
Okay.
If it didn't pan out, then it didn't matter if I said 100 million pesos, 100 million pounds.
Wow.
It didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
It wasn't about getting the first check. It was about getting the second check that was always the hardest thing.
Got it.
So the 100 million pesos that funded you and Caliber and Ava and Zap
Right.
and Lendo, that was that first check. That was this test for whether we could do what we said we could do, right?
Yeah.
So we had to hustle as well. Fast forward to 2015, we made some good investments.
You did. Congrats.
Some things were going great, some things were not going great, but we had begun a process and
Okay.
a way of measuring things. So we pitched and got a $50 million fund.
Wow.
So Fund 2 for Kickstart from the 100 million pesos was $50 million.
That's crazy.
And 25x. And
Wow. And
this-
that's the check that's now funding the Wattpads and whatnot.
Yes.
Got
So
it.
that's the check. That's the fund that allows us to invest in Wattpad, in Dialpad, in Lotus Flare, Coins. Coins was from Fund 2.
Yep.
So that's this whole range of funds, or the newer ones like
Yeah.
Snapcard out of Indonesia, C88 out of Indonesia, iVideo, Smart BitRep, CollectCo in Malaysia. So that's kind of Fund 2, $50 million. And,
Right.
we kept getting more cash for Fund 1 as well. So that's about $8 million now. So moving from 2015 to 2019, we'd made some really good investments. We had a stronger sense of our culture, our purpose, our mission, and how to execute it. So this year, we pitched and we have gotten not just a bigger fund,
Yes.
but a bigger set of LPs. So from
LPs.
all the cash coming from Globe Telecom for
Okay.
Fund 1 and 2, Fund 3, the active
Yes.
fund, is an Ayala Corporation
The
conglomerate
mother
wide
company
fund.
now. Okay.
So I think we've announced $150 million.
Congratulations. My goodness. Everybody's talking about this. And we'll talk about that more on the third part of the thing. But this is a game changer because people always say, like, there's nothing in the Philippines and whatnot. But here we go. The big conglomerate, which is Ayala, again, is ready to do that. So what we're going to be talking about, Minette, is on the next part, we're going to be talking about what are you going to spend that on? Who are you going to look for? And what for those startups that are listening to this episode, what should you look out for so that if you feel that you qualify, this is what you should listen to. More of that after the break.
Effective automation is the best way for businesses to stay competitive. And having a chatbot for your business lets you easily automate and optimize sales, marketing, and customer service in the digital age. Chatbot PH will build, train, maintain, and market your chatbot across all messaging platforms. Our team uses the latest AI technologies to enable you to better serve customers 24/7, 365. Set a meeting with us today. Message us now at m.me/chatbotph.
And we're back for the final part of Mother's Day edition and election edition with Minette Navarette of Kickstart. So, Minette, prior to the break, you said that there's 150 mil now from the AC as an LP aside from Globe. So the stakes are higher.
It's actually Ayala Corporation and the group companies under Ayala Corp.
Wow.
So not just a single company, not just a holding company,
Okay.
but they are quite significant in this new fund.
Mm-hmm.
But other group companies like Bank of the Philippine Islands,
Aye.
Ayala Land, AC
Wow.
Energy, Globe Telecom,
Right.
AC Industrials. So
Yep.
it's a
Infra, whatever, and whatnot.
it's a
Yeah.
wide range of
These are the things my
LPs.
mom tells me about because she's so super Ayala till now because she worked for Ayala for.
Oh, that's
I don't know,
true. She
17
is.
Yeah, like everything's Ayala for her. And whatnot. But what are you looking for now in 150 million? Do you do seed still or all Series A now? And what type of businesses are you gonna look for? And what do you need to see?
Well, Fund One, which was the fund that we invested in
The baby sharks,
Partifile
yeah.
and the rest of you in, that's still around. So we are going to continue to do Fund One investments. And the reason that's important is we need to invest in the ecosystem.
I thought that was.
So-
I really thought that when we got burned by us. Wow.
That 100 million pesos that we had in 2012, we've gotten more money from Globe. So I think at the end of 2018, that was up to about maybe $8 million
Wow.
in total value now. So we continue to get
There's
cash.
seed here
We
still.
continue to get cash from Globe because it's
Okay.
important to invest in the ecosystem.
Okay.
Fund 3 is exciting, and we do hope it's going to be the game changer. I think what's
It should
different
be,
is
yeah.
when you look at a lot of other funds, there's there are various sizes, right?
Okay.
Big funds, small funds. I think many of them will say this is a health tech fund or this is a fintech fund.
Correct.
The way we want to look at it is that it's not a fund for technology per se.
Okay.
We are investing in solutions that build a future we want,
Wow.
a future we want to believe in. And the context of this is we're in an emerging market.
Yes.
There are many problems that we must overcome to build a future that we want.
Okay.
A lot of the problems that we see, a lot of the divisions in society, that's brought about by inequality because resources are scarce
Right.
and not everyone has access to them.
Right.
So we have 4 themes that we believe in, and
Okay.
those are the themes we want to invest in.
Okay.
The first theme is something that talks about a frictionless future.
Frictionless future.
So when you think about how inconvenient many processes are, and whether that's about braving the traffic,
Right.
doing your groceries every day, paying your bills, all of these have friction points,
Got it.
and everybody is inconvenienced. Some people can pay for convenience, others can't.
Yes.
And so you suffer it. So we're looking to build a future that is frictionless for more people, that has the scale. So whether that's fintech or artificial intelligence or analytics or e-commerce, those are kind of themes that underlie building a frictionless future.
Wow.
The second theme we want to invest in is a theme called From Automation to Augmentation.
Automation to augmentation.
So, a lot of our GNP comes from
Okay.
BPO.
Yes.
There's a chunk of it that comes from manufacturing. Do we want to imagine how the future might become in the dystopia predicted from dark factories
Yep,
and
yep.
fully automated services that wipe out human jobs? No, right?
Right.
So we want to build a future, we believe in a future where automation, analytics, machine learning, robotics all serve not to destroy jobs and industries, but
Right.
to make people more productive, to make the quality of their output higher.
Okay.
And that's the kind of tech we're interested in.
Got it.
We want to look at new frontiers in real estate. Philippines doesn't have
Wow.
as many people with their own homes.
Yeah.
And it's important, I think.
It's
that
a big want. This is my why before. You know this. And from the get-go, I said, the reason why I'm doing this is I wanted to buy my mama house.
Do you remember how it felt when you handed her the keys? When you told her?
Yeah. I was crying. Again, a lot of crying. This is the crying episode. No, it's like, Ma, we made it. We're here. We got it.
So can you imagine that for the rest of the population?
Yes.
But today's business models don't allow that. So we want to find new techniques, new markets,
Got it.
new models for real estate. The fourth theme is a theme called the World of Plenty.
World of plenty. Okay.
And when you think of Philippines as the highest energy costs in the region, and these are structural. This
Yeah.
is not because there's someone evil rubbing their hands and trying to.
Right.
It's because structurally we have some inefficiencies that mean energy's expensive. Water is not well distributed. There are still about maybe 20% of the population who do not have running water
Yeah.
24/7.
Right.
Pollution and plastic pollution, that's a big
Wow.
issue. Food scarcity. So we want to reframe scarce resources and find the technologies that make them
Sustainable.
sustainable, available, affordable for everyone, not just for the
Nice.
top 1%. So these are futures that we want to invest in. What we want to do differently
Okay.
is to put our cash and our operating muscle behind founders and startups that offer large, scalable, sustainable solutions. That's
Big
what we want to
game
do.
changers, technically, right? I mean, everybody, all the startups want that, but you need if your startup fit into those four categories that Minette just itemized in, Fund 3, correct, is for you.
The active fund.
There you go. So again, the stakes are high, but I'm pretty sure somebody out there is going through this. And at the end of the day, the Kickstart is right there, not just to give the money, but like I'm a big proponent to this. That I've felt how we went hand in hand through the trenches. And again, there's nothing like it. And till now, I echo this, and it's like, I don't know, it's been 3 years now since Smarty Pile have died, right? But it's just felt like it was yesterday and whatnot. Now, Minette, last part before we say goodbye. I know you're very, very busy, and thank you for this. But I wanted to ask for tips, because there's some things that you just again, you're so full of poise. You never look like you never lose control. How do you master yourself, and how do you make sure that you're within that zone where you're within that self mastery zone per se?
I set aside time every week to think. So my schedule, and people know this, the schedule on a weekly basis will have a block of time where I don't do meetings.
Okay.
And that's because I need time to think things through, to reflect,
Got it.
etc. And to write down my thoughts. I write incessantly. I take down notes
Yep.
like anything. And that's because I want to have the ability to step back from what's happening and think through things.
Okay.
I think from the point of view of getting results, it matters to me to do things that haven't been done. I think it's worth. So I always say this: raise your hand for the tough jobs that no one else wants.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of them, and there's little competition.
Right. Blue ocean strategy right there.
Yeah, but you know that you're taking a huge risk, and you have to bet on yourself. You have to have the self-belief,
Right.
and you're doing something hard. So
Okay.
mastery, tough jobs, and investing in yourself, investing
Got it.
in time that you set aside. I think also it's important to take this long, hard, honest look at yourself.
Okay.
Every job I've had, and a mentor taught me this early on. Most of my desks all the desks I have ever occupied, have had a post-it somewhere that has DBTH.
What's DBTH?
Don't believe the hype.
Yes, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Oh my God.
You don't believe the
DBTH.
hype about others. You don't believe the hype outside. And mostly, you don't believe the hype about yourself. You've got to stay honest and grounded. You know what you know, and you ought to have confidence in that. But also, you know what you don't know. And there is no shame in saying, can you help me understand this?
Right.
I think we accomplish a lot if we are able to do that.
Okay.
I think, truthfully, the most important thing is working with a team. I'm always a little awkward when
Yeah.
it's personality driven, and interviews like this tend to highlight, individuals and personalities. I couldn't have gotten here without Dan Siazon, who's frankly the master of venture capital
Absolutely.
all round, without Christian,
Right.
who was as courageous and as idealistic as all the rest
Super,
of us,
right.
without Joanne, who sets structures, thinks through stuff, Alex, who
Right.
put a lot of structure, who talked about alignment, who cared about the founders,
Right.
without Bit Santos, who's joined us, who talks about the portfolio founders, who sets up these opportunities for everyone. Pia, community manager, fridge master, um, energizer bunny who never
Right,
runs out
right,
of
right.
time. Janice, Baby, Francis Barsana, who joined us and does business development for startups. Camille
Yep.
runs Semaphore.
Right.
Joined the investment team. Jackie, who does
You
diligence.
guys are big now. Before there's like a handful of you. Right.
But we also, and if you look at our website, we have the interns, and every intern did something special for us.
Yes.
So I think we remember that it isn't a one-man game,
Right.
that there's always a lot of people. And there's so many people to be grateful for, and whose support we have depended upon.
Right.
I think whether you're a startup or a venture capital person,
Right.
I think these are important lessons to
Absolutely.
keep in mind.
Now, I'm pretty sure one person here that really echoes, and I'm very curious what type of conversations, because you always mentioned this in passing before, Ernest Koo. Right. What are the conversations like with Ernest? How is it like? Because also the 2 episodes prior to this, Brian Koo of Grab mentioned Ernest as his mentor to ask for someone for advice whenever he hits a wall. What's it like for you? I'm just curious of what's Ernest like.
Ernest is direct, practical,
Okay.
but he is amazing, and he has provided us with such a lot of support. He values your thought. He isn't touchy-feely, warm fuzzies. He isn't
Okay.
like that. But he respects discourse and disagreement. So we have had many times where he and I have been on different sides of an argument.
Wow.
And I've learned 2 key things from Ernest. The first one is timing.
Timing.
And sometimes we have to learn how to time the investments so that we are in early enough that the train hasn't left the station,
Right.
but not too early that we have built Grand Central when the wheel hasn't been invented, right?
Yes.
So timing is important. But the other thing is how Ernest has helped to delegate and hold us all to account.
Okay.
So whenever we've been at opposite ends of an argument, one of the best things he's done is to say, well, okay, we'll do it your way first. Let me see how that pans out, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then we'll revert to my way.
Wow.
But that does 2 things.
Okay.
It gives you the freedom to operate the way you believe in. It allows him to hold you accountable
Yeah.
because he's not insisted.
Right.
And it gives both of us the ability to work with each other and have differing points of view.
Correct.
And find a constructive outcome. And sometimes we've done things his way first, sometimes my way first. But he's also come back, kind of a full year later and said, when I disagreed about this
Oh.
and you didn't do it, I've rethought my position.
Wow.
And if you still want to do it, go ahead. Out of the blue. So he is, I think, possibly one of the most confident leaders, one of the most liberating leaders. He'll haul you over the coals
Right.
and hold you to account. And, if you aren't delivering as you promised. So the hustle there again, not the bullshit.
Yeah.
You've got to work really hard, but tell the truth.
Absolutely. Now, last two questions, Minette. I was ever curious. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes, but for you, what was your biggest fuck up ever?
Gah. When you're doing innovation, there's such a lot that goes wrong.
Right.
And considering the length of time I've been doing it at Globe, I guess, we've set up for companies, we've acquired companies and built up assets and made investments. And then the industry, the regulations and stuff changed, technology changed, and all the investments we made couldn't be used.
Ouch.
So we have done that on a fairly significant scale. And it's just regulatory changes meant they weren't going to happen. So having made significant investments, we stopped everything, cleaned up. I remember Dan and I going to the board of Globe saying, we have an option to sell at a discount. We'll take the haircut, but we don't lose it all.
Right.
And we have had amazing support from them. I remember Jaime Augusto saying, no, you saw something in this asset.
Right.
We don't have to sell it. We'll hang on to it. And don't worry, Minette. We'll make something of it.
Wow.
But that was significant.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, it's always come clean.
Right.
Come clean fast. Come
Yes.
clean completely. And try and make it better. And once you do that, then it's a shared truth.
Got it. And don't do the blame game as well, I guess.
No, I think at the end of the day, you take it on. I've been asked at times, so if this all goes badly wrong,
Right.
whose head is on the board? And it's always mine.
Let's start.
If I'm the most
Right.
senior person pitching,
Yeah.
then it's my neck on the line, not my team's.
Absolutely.
And I will take the bullet before them.
That's amazing. And again, I've learned that from you from day one. Now, last message, Minette. Startup ecosystem Philippines. This is always like a catch-22. We're doing progress, but we're not doing enough. What's next? What should we be doing? And where does Kickstart fall into the equation?
So when you think about the Philippine ecosystem, there are many things that we can learn from all the other ecosystems in the world, right? There's public policy, there's talent, there's mentors, there's founder attitude and mindset,
Right.
there's skill, there's capital. Capital is only one part of the equation, and it's the most commoditized bit of the equation.
Got it.
In the beginning, we sort of were pretty bullheaded, but I think one thing we're doing better as an ecosystem now is we're a bit more organized. We're more together. We share our thoughts.
Yep.
We've just announced $150 million. That suggests some basis for optimism.
Correct.
And some of that basis comes from a number of things. The quality of the startups that we are seeing is better.
Yes.
We've had to go through the early, infant stages where we're learning and people want to do a version of Facebook or an
Right.
Uber of this.
Right.
I think where we are now is we've seen founders that are a bit more seasoned and startup ideas that are more ambitious
Yes.
and more thought through. I think there's more capital. One of the things that's really heartening is this year, after maybe a 2.5 year slog, Senator Bam Aquino's innovative startup bill.
Finally, right. What's on episode 23? No, 21, sorry. The 3 episodes for this. We discussed the hustle to get that law passed.
And that was tough. You had
Right.
Carl Santinitigan.
Yeah.
But really, that was a whole team with Paula Delis, with
Right,
Jose
right.
Escalante, and just a whole group. Senator Aquino was here multiple times. He talks to founders.
Yep.
He was an entrepreneur himself. So it comes from not because he wanted to ride the hype,
Right.
but because he genuinely understood the pain points and he engaged the community.
Yes.
We're optimistic that that bill that has now passed into law
Right.
is going to make things better.
Yep.
So that's one thing. I think the other thing is founders like yourself, people who have gone through it, who've made exits, who've made mistakes, and being willing to share.
Right.
I think we're also educating the media, the corporates. So what we're trying to all do is, I think, build an ecosystem together, how people can help get behind the startup bill, make sure that it happens,
Yes.
hold the government to account. This is a great move by government.
Super.
And there has always been interest from the Department of Trade and Industry, the DICT, the DOST. We've got to support them because public officials who put money behind, frankly, what is the highest risk asset class,
Yes.
who put effort behind it, they are sticking their necks out for us.
Same way that you're sticking it out for your team, right?
So we want to support them. We want to be sure that we deliver good, honest product.
Okay.
That we deliver more than the hype.
Absolutely.
I think if we back the people who have really put a lot of initiative behind the systems and structures that support and underpin the ecosystem, we're optimistic that the Philippines can be a winner, that we can be the massive success
Absolutely.
that we want.
You just need momentum. There's already momentum coming in. The smaller wins and all that. Now there's the law, there's the fund. We just got to step up collectively as a whole to help each other out. And again, for us, the reason why this podcast is alive is it's my way, at least in my own little way, to pass it all forward. Because I have great conversations with people like you, with Brian Coos and whatnot. And if someone needs a little bit of help, then just press play and hopefully you'll pick up a thing or two that can help up with your grind. Again, Minette, happy Mother's Day and thank you very much. I know you don't like being called a startup mom, but
I'm rolling
you are.
my eyes.
Yeah, but you meant so much and you taught so much. And again, from all the people that you've invested in and whatnot, thank you very much. And again, for guys, if you like what you hear in the show, please don't forget to show us some love. We need some love too. Okay, on Mother's Day. So please give us a follow or subscribe or give us some feedback on your favorite podcast app and message us on our chatbot on m.me/hustleshare powered by chatbot.ph. Again, thank you, Minette.
Thanks to Ron.
I appreciate it. And again, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.